As you know, I'm Kit Cassingham, and this is Speaker's Corner.
Hey.
Isn't this a fun event?
Yes.
And I love getting to schedule it because so many interesting people bring interesting ideas to the table, and tonight's another one. Tonight, Joey Martino is going to present The Heart of Joey. But let me tell you a little bit about him that he probably won't share. Joey's had kind of like two different careers, football and acting. He was a college football MVP award winner and head football coach for Hollywood High School. He has been a Screen Actors Guild member and a dramatist member. He's a produced playwright both in New York City and in Los Angeles.
And on Villa Vie.
I didn't know he had written something for Villa Vie.
Well, he did. Remember, he did this. The poems.
Oh, I didn't see that as a play. So, yeah.
No offense, Joey.
No, Joey doesn't take offense. For me, anyway. So, with that, let's welcome Joey to hear about his heart. Joey!
Thank you, Kit. Thank you all for coming tonight. I wanted to just say, I think some of you probably have been to my first poem reading. This is one that I wanted to do, but I didn't want to burden some of the other residents with reading the poem, and I just thought that this time when Kit asked me that I would do it myself and just read the poems myself. Gene Wilderer did a great presentation of it. I'm going to do the best I can. I didn't have rehearsal, so I'm going to kind of just work off the cuff. But I just wanted to start saying I'm going to read 7 poems tonight. And the reason I chose 7 is because 7 is the most used number in the Bible, and I'm a believer. So I have a pseudonym or a pen name, and that's Anthony DeRossi, and anytime I write plays or poems, I use the name Anthony DeRossi. That's my stage name as well. So I have 5, let me talk a little bit about my writing. I have 5 full-length plays that I've written. 2 of them were produced in New York City and 1 Los Angeles. I've written 4 screenplays, 3 TV pilots, and a dozen one-act plays, and 35 poems. And I call them story poems because they're not like your rhyme and meter poems that you hear and see on books, and see in books. But I just kind of write my own way. And I didn't start writing poems until I was 30 years old. I was in New York City. I was a waiter in New York City at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel on Park Avenue. And one day, a gentleman walks in, and he was like the double of Truman Capote. So he had a hat, the cane, the jewelry, everything. And he came in, and as fate would have it, he comes and he sits down in my section. Him and I started talking, and I was talking about my acting, where I was studying, and I had just written a play, my first play called Dreamer Boy. It's about an actor who comes from the Midwest to New York City, and his dreams of being on Broadway. And I was just talking to him about it, and I told him I just finished the script, 88-page script, and problem was I didn't type, so I didn't know how to type. And this gentleman was telling me how, he was a professor at NYU, and he taught creative writing and poetry, and he said, I'd be more than happy to help type it up for you. So I don't know if anybody here saw that movie, Tuesdays with Morrie. That was my story with Barry, and it was about 5 or 6 years before that movie came out. Him and I were in that type of relationship where I'd go to his little Gramercy Park apartment on Sundays, and him and I would talk about things, but I went over there to have my play typed, and he was typing it, and as he was typing it, he saw some excerpts and monologues in the play, And he wanted to let me know. He says, you have a voice of a poet. And he said, have you ever tried poetry, writing poetry? And I've never written a poem. Like Kit has said, I was a football player and turned actor. I didn't know about poetry at all. So he said, well, why don't you give it a try? And I did. Not long after that, my girlfriend at the time and I went up to upstate New York, and we decided that we were going to play golf up there. And it was a beautiful, beautiful afternoon, summer afternoon. The sun was going down beautifully. And I wrote my first poem, and it was entitled Twilight with You. And I had showed it to my friend, and he looked at it, and he was an editor at McGraw-Hill as well, and he looked at it and he said, you know, I'm going to submit this. And I found that to be very surprising, but he said, I'm going to submit this to a publisher, poetry publisher, and he did, and they printed it in a book, and the name of the book was called The Colors of Thought. So I'm going to read my first play, Twilight with You, and this was my inspiration, was of course my future wife, Andrea. Twilight with You. Softly the sun lies down to rest. A wistful breeze whispers through the magnolia tree, kissing the air as to wish us all the best. Stop, O golden time, twixt the elderly day and the infant night. For the glorious power above has made music with nature, orchestrating it in a brilliant, harmonious rhyme. We played on well beyond the afternoon's blistering fever. Now our reward has come forth, the sky's soft cooling glow. Somewhere wedged in the deep glades of green, my ball is lost. Though worry not I, for I circle the moment with my eyes. I feel the loss at no cost. Thy bones someday destined to decay, beneath this inspiring portrait forever will they lay. One wish I plead, here not spoil my memory too, of this magical hour, lived and shared with love in the twilight with you. This next poem is a tribute to my brother Al, who passed away at the age of 37. He was born with a defective kidney, and all through his life he was in and out of the hospital. He had kidney failure quite often. One of his kidneys was working at half, whatever. He was very ill. So he had a kidney transplant, and I wrote this for him. The night before he died, my father called me. I was in New York at the time, and he called me and he said, Joey, get here as soon as you can. He came into the hospital in the morning, and they started putting him on morphine. So I had my dad put the phone in his ear, and so I could speak to him, because he was pretty much in a coma. And the title of the poem is Heart of a Champion. 20 years later, I wrote this poem because I promised my mom I was going to have the poem ready the next day. And of course, I had jet lag and I couldn't, and I felt so guilty about it. So I wrote it 20 years later. 20 years now have passed, and oh so many more memories have I amassed. Though the ones of you be forever with me, and whatever now flow from this pen be but a longing inside me for far too long to honor and tell what be true about you. With God bestowing upon me a gift, I promise to write thy best, so that my heart and thoughts about you may rest. From birth, O brother, good health this thee never knew. as the operations and medication did weaken and nearly crippled ye. However, this never hindered you to work, play, or do. My favorite framed memory be of you smiling ear to ear, so happy to see me from another stay at the hospital. Finally, you arrived home, with us both shedding a tear. That day, as loving brothers, we explored and played through the neighborhood, and how innocently we did freely roam. Then on that cold day, much too long did we play. I hurled the ball with you looking the other way. How I wanted to take it back, for soon after you cried as your nose bled away. Of regrets in life I do store, this one for the longest time deep inside me really tore. We wrestled and fought as brothers often do. I finally, having your arms pinned to the floor, a sad and confusing look came over you, as if to ask why we both do this thing we do. Here I say today, of all the sports I did play, ounce for ounce, there not be a tougher and more determined competitor or unrelenting foe did I ever know. Those memories of how we fought, strangely enough, I now hold sacred and in value high. Keeping them for my own and not from anyone can they ever be bought. The time I arrived from Manhattan in a limo, dressed with top hat and cane all the way up to the nines. How Dad and you ribbed me all night, then freely letting go that roaring lion laugh you had, that I so desperately wish were mine. A champion holds the trophy up high, though when it comes to you, I'd be more than happy to call it a tie. For at your wake, as the long line paid their respects and passed me one by one, I sobbed uncontrollably as the Lord and final judge raised your arm up and lifted you to that glorious place in the sky. I realized that you were life's true champion, my dear brother Al, and that you had won. The next poem I wrote in tribute to my wife. She was going through the cancer, and this poem was a few days before Valentine's Day, and I knew it was my last chance to write a Valentine's poem for her. She was losing weight, the chemotherapy stopped working, and I thought this is the opportunity, so I did, and she was happy. The title of the poem is On This Valentine. A little bit history. So I met my wife. Again, I was working at the Waldorf Astoria. She came in one afternoon, and I came out of the kitchen with my penguin suit on and plates in hand, and as I was walking, there she was sitting in the seat, and I couldn't really tell. She was such a cute little girl. I didn't know she was a woman or this young girl, because she was small and she looked so cute. As I got closer, I could tell she was a woman. So on this Valentine, I set my mind to rewind. Though so tempted to pen the easy line, a vivid memory moves me to be me. A better man, dig deep and bare thy true soul. Life being too short, for not far long a man be digging deep in the dirt for thee. Valentine's Day offers no better time to flirt and dance with romance, giving the old pen brush some flow and paint a picture full of colorful rhyme. The memory of which I speak be of you sitting in the chair with your mane of cascading and trestled hair, your face resembling a baby bunny. How I long my hand to be there. Humbled by my penguin suit and plates in hand, I walk closer, so stunned with angelic awe, desperately trying not to stare. A voice told me to seize the moment, for you be the one to call my honey. Summoning every nerve, I asked you to the picture show. Oh, so happy I took that dare. Our first date, I made you giggle, all the while secretly admiring your womanly wiggle. Falling for each other, exploring nearly every state. Many memorable courses did we play on so many a day. You playing the part of lover, friend, and doting mother. The small things of which I cherish the most. Hard to express the joy of these little gems you bestow on me, transcending my mundane day and lifting my soul. What a refreshing and welcome surprise this brings. The greatest gift thou ownest be only to compose a poetic symphony of all that dwells in my heart and knowest. I give unto you to store and keep for all eternity. All the memories we shared will never be forgotten in the crevice and deep archives of my mind. For this be the glue keeping us forever attached and solidifying our love never to part. 2.5 decades now have passed. I say as every night before we sleep, thank you for loving me. Though much more than this, showing me your mastered and sacred art of giving, how you demonstrated to me this be the most fulfilled way of living. Opening my eyes to a wondrous world with generosity, an everlasting gift you gave. Now thou truly sees. God owns the knowledge of longevity for each life. The knowledge I own I profess to all. I am the luckiest and most blessed man in the world to call you my wife. The next poem is entitled You're Right. And this is not swayed on one side or the other. I wrote this 3 or 4 years ago, right before the election was going to happen. And I do not care one iota if you're a Democrat or Republican. I'm still your friend. And I wish everybody on this ship would still be my friend. You're right. To vote, the topic of the day, which many a poet early foregoes to patriotically ponder, and only a few have wrote. Though methink be the sparkling hidden gem of our diamond democracy. Displaying a Republican working order, with the elected politicians debating and compromising legislative deals in our U.S. Capitol corridor, empowering citizens with a represented voice, even though the majority of the populace feel powerless of what legislation be proposed upon the floor, becoming null and void by corporate capitalism, with the pocket-filling ye thieving lobbyists buying out nearly every law-abiding citizen's rightful choice. Our country at odds and divided, each party pushing their own surreal ideal, though only the one with the electoral high college count on the 3rd of November shall be given the opportunity key to open the door of our country's coveted and so appointedly loved house to make real. Opinions often move to arguments, a debate festering to hate, each and every strongly feel with conviction and zeal, believing they're right and blind by not being kind, to see the opponent's opposing eyesight, or lend an ear to hear what the other's voice has to reveal and unbear. The other party offering a different plan for every man, but for his foe, every word be wrong, a heated symposium of sort, blowing hot air to all hours of the night, verbal jabs and animostic intellectual punches thrown, perpetuating a brainy boxing match, juking and jabbing that circles round and round, crescendoing into shouting, ticking the tiresome untimed round for even the most fittingly ferocious fighter a tad too long. Rich versus poor, the age-old conflict must forever endure. Whether you bleed red or blue, doth not all our blood color possess, reflect the same human hue? On election day, not politically but poetically, I stroke this pen brush henceforth to fervently say, walk up to that booth with your head held high, for you're an American. Punch that ballot with passion and pride, honoring all the men who fiercely fought and so bravely died, thereby bequeathing and making you the sole benefactor of all they gave to their dying will, proving the sacrifice had true worth, to allow now in peace they may sleep and forever lie. A little birdie doth tweet in me how you now spurn me for not persuading me to sway your way, nor to your favor bend, creating active enmity and hence no longer calling me friend. If this truth be a question, I beseech your mind to wander and ponder. From our beginning, were we really, and after all be said and done, would we truly have been friend in the final end? Be not disgruntled or mope and make a scapegoat of someone who disagrees or opposes your votes, turning in you a rousing, roasting reaction, causing your thinking of them all the way through and through to the bone, an overdone dope. Feel that right of freedom surging through your bones. Reason be, for you're blessed just by living in a land of the free, and no single one able to take away this God-given American gift, which with my poet's life license does add, the counting teller at the voting polls cannot and will never omit. Now I plead you to not forego and nor forget. Vote and pay no heed to the totalitarian thinking, for it's but more so important to know you're right. The next poem is a tribute to my father. My father had 6 kids, 3 girls and 3 boys. I was his 3rd son. My older brother is the studious type. My second brother had all the illnesses. I came out looking like my dad and talking like my father. We share the same humor. We think the same. We're very similar in a lot of ways. He was a big inspiration in my life. And when I was a young kid, he would take me to the racetrack. He was my baseball coach, and he would do a lot of things with me. And he had a butcher store out in the suburbs of Chicago, Glen Allen. And when I was a young boy, 5 or 6, I'd stand next to the butcher block as he would break down the hind quarter, and he would be telling me stories of his youth and growing up in the inner city of Chicago, and singing to me and telling me jokes. We share the same type of humor. I'll share the story real quick. It may be funny to some. My father wasn't a good mechanic with cars, and there was one day, and it's in the poem here, that him and I were out and he was changing his battery out of the car, and the gentleman across the street always helped him. He was an older gentleman. He was always helping my dad with his car. My dad was changing the battery. He was taking the battery out, and he was setting it down on the sidewalk, and here comes Tom, and my dad goes, "Oh, hell, here comes Tom. Every time he comes over, he makes me feel like a big dummy." So he was setting the battery down, and Tom yells, Sammy, don't put the battery on the sidewalk. You're going to ruin it." He says, "Get a box." My dad says, "I don't got a box." And he goes, wait. He says, what? And my dad says, "What do you want me to do, Tom? Make one?" And anyways, Tom walked away, and him and I, we just had a big laugh about that. So the name of the poem is My Shining Star. The star, though be not cast nor given a famed part in the Broadway or Hollywood lights, but oh, for the many, how you had shine on them, infusing their lives with electric light, and by this making said lives less blue, coloring and using your personality with the blue that's beautiful and bright. Myself be that one of many grateful and giddy recipients whom you bestowed your humorous gift upon, worthy and valued better than the best billionaire's banker's money. The times of laughter we shared be more than enough, filling my insides with your life delish licorice, good and plenty. From time to time I dial back my mind to rewind to that one autumn sunny Sunday as we fell to the ground, knees buckled and bent over on our sides, gasping for an air for hours, crying from the pain of rib-cracking laughter, being lasting memory, and to this day holds to me the best of life's melodies mine ears have heard, numbing the nightly noise and always shall be my favorite sound. I look back and there in the stands you stood, fighting back the big and bold windy Chicago cold, gloves and jacket less the hood, looking on as I did a play good. Besides being smallest of team size, you believing all the while I could, then giving me the fist pump knowing with our sign right back I would. A father and son's own language, a word need never be spoken, though a proudful and powerful secret uniting both of us, only we understood. Driving 7 hours my freshman year, whence I gave you the call, a little torpedo beginning a varsity start. Playing the tough guy part of Chicago's own, born and bred. Pick stealing the quarterback 2 times, jump sacking him 5, sending their best player home in a cast after running into the hard helmet hitting thee. Lends me to penning memories from my older day rhymes, producing nearly a one-man show, laying everything out in a field before you, the least I could do for your loving belief in me. Of all the people my life's travels I've known and met, never one knew me as did you. To this day, as hard as I try, can never fool or pull the pretendful wool over thy eye, which I attribute, surmise, and poetically hypothesize to embodying the same blood personality and likeness of looks. Me, your Mr. Chips, would famously be all in, wager his life on, and bet. Now as your clock ticks with the faithful hands of old Father Time, I'll set my mind to poetry and penning a rhyming with tick-tock timing, to forever remember an everlasting rhyme, which I forward forth on this poet's paper canvas. Ifeth and wheneth life lands me a fistful of knuckle, and I'm in need of a chiming chuckle, the kind that autumn day making our knees buckle, I'll look up to you in the heavenly stands way up in the dark sky so far, the one shaking up and down knowing be your star, performing another galactical show for everyone, making all inhabitants a hilarious heaven. If the big hooray for Hollywood or Broadway only knew, of this I speak when it comes to you, the best crazy and zany live performer anyone ever did see and ever will be. Oh, so many have tried but could never outdo. Those so-called famous producers missed the best catch of all in life's big casting call. Someone should have directed them to you, the Tony and Oscar-winning player of our beloved everyday character, Mr. Cuckoo. My tickled time memory will tell me to raise my fist, the secret sign to you give, remembering to always laugh as I live, thanking the Heavenly Father one lucky boy had the earthly father who sit and set high the funny bone bar. Now henceforth shall own, forever to him be known, my shining star. This is the second to last poem, and originally I was going to make this my last poem, but of the 3 plays that I had produced, I had 2 of them were sad, dramatic endings, and I kind of said, I think I've had enough of that. So I wrote this poem a few days after my wife passed, and I wrote it. The inspiration was for myself to heal, and it helped me heal. And the title of the poem is A Loving End. Time after time I've sat and pondered to unveil my soul to pen a rhyme, though this one I wish I need to not, for it tends and lends to be somewhat of a more painful jot. A force by which I not know compels me to fix and so a rip of thy heart, whereance all that be beautiful be planted, grow and start. The memory of you, my little loving Jew, awakens my soul and mind of the 2 taught lessons you bestowed unto me, to love and always be kind. You flew up in the air, forever leaving me down here. Only God knows why he lifted my best friend to the sky. I look up remembering our times of love and toss aside my manly pride. For there'd be no greater emotion than love. And so for you, I unabashedly cry. Blessed to have thee as my love. For never has there been on earth a bird that caused so many hearts to flutter as you, my miraculous little dove. A friend can come and go like the wind, but you stuck with me as we suffer life's wintered weather times. Oh, how we held each other tight through thick and thin. By writing warming words helps me heal inside, far more than a fresh morning dew or the angelic sounds of the singing birds. Best friends who on occasion fought. A married couple's life can never be perfect, though so often sought. All we needed given to us from God for free and could never ever be bought. Others to me gave, though you so much more, which I discreetly placed in my mind's memory forever and ever to keep and store. My poetic tribute to you shall receive no literary accolade, much too impossible to convey the bonding memories of love and friendship we made. A poem of simplicity, void of any well-read man's words, for you endowed with a heightened and brilliantly enlightened sense of diversity. I, a mere simpleton kind of man, who scribbles rhyming lines to give the world signs, so all may know of our majestic moments of life and laughter we did share. Painting a picture with words for you, my dear, the best I can. Year after year, all thy faults and foibles you did bear. A friend true, the highest honor one can achieve, I state here and now and do firmly believe. From your life's actions I so learned and tribute all to you. Our life glued together by love, bent though never broke. Always stayed strong. Better even when you suffered cancer's merciless wrath all day long. At the end your face and body did stiffen. The final act of love and friendship you summoned up to say goodbye. By closing the lips at the moment last to kiss. Something enshrined in my heart and helps me close the book on our love story. Blessed by God, who had so generously given. For my days left down here, whence I think of you, those soft loving lips most of all will I miss. Fortune favors the brave. Your heart of gold I pursued cross country, traveling a poor man's path. Finally reached, I kneeled and worshipped at your sacred glow, beaming from thy chest. Of all the hearts that I've loved, me and Maury, you own the best. Oh, the golden heart gifted to me, the greatest I did ever receive, inspires me to bow my head and forever be your loving husband, Joey. So the final poem, the last poem. I wrote this poem for someone here on the ship, for a tribute to her. Her name is Lori.
Wow.
Lori, stand up. A few years after my wife passed, I promised I would not date for 2 years. That was to honor her, and I felt that that was the right time period. My father, after the 2 years, said, "Joey, the life is for the living." And so, through someone at work gave me a site, dating site. It was called Silver Singles, and of course my hair was turning silver, so I thought it might be a good idea to go up for that one. And I did, and I put on, and after a few days, I got few responses, and Lori was one of the first responses, and I put on there that I lived in New York City. I love New York, and I put a little song of the New York state of mind, Billy Joe, and she wrote back and said, "You're already scoring points with Billy Joe." So our first day, we met at a wine bar in Los Angeles. To go through something really quick, 3 weeks before my wife passed, I wrote a play. The title of the play was "A Candle Burns Slowly," and right then and there I had booked the theater in Burbank. Ron Howard was on the board of directors, and COVID hit. So all the theaters in Los Angeles closed down for 2.5 years. Of course, just at that time I had met Lori, and if anybody met Lori, she's a force of energy. Every theater play has a theater angel. The force that Lori, when she came in, she renegotiated a contract with the theater. She set up the playbills. She did the lighting and the sound in the booth. She handled the box office for me, the flyers, the marketing. She was the force behind the energy it needed. So I wrote a poem for her. Thank you, Lord. The name of the title of the poem is The Lovely Lori. One night at the wine bar, as a glaring seasoned silhouette walked through the door, my eyes sipped then savored your award-winning vintage from afar. We sat to converse with give and take, cutting each other off respectively with talking bites of the Big Apple, sharing our vivacious love of New York, a loving bond formed well before the sommelier suggested wine could uncork. Beautifully Brooklyn born and bred, so refreshingly real, I felt comfortably home by how you spoke and the down-to-earth way of all you said. Members of the Weeping Widows Club, knowing neither could ever replace nor our spouse sub. The two of us experiencing in life the husband and wife losing pain, wherein perchance lies our bond's true rub. Thinking, speaking, and liking the same, a winning combination for us to better smooth the often awkward and sometimes strike out dating game. Giving a Hanukkah gift ignited in you with rewarding me a smacking kiss. Greenlighting the poetic romantic to make a move on the golf park bench. For playing my way into our necking bliss. Your handsome husband, so beloved, be lost that sad day, tumbling and crumbling to the ground a family home, painfully more than this poet's penbrush could ever paintly say. Pregnant and alone, bulldozing through the Brooklyn way, starting a law practice, very strong or firm, Even though life colored you sad and blue, although hard knocks through the years could not make your well-built business building ever sway. A sexy, seasoned lady, so maturely well-aged, like the fine wine we often share, gazing at your lightly lined, live face. I'm overcome by the catty cougar in you. My manhood desperately tries to hold on, though must release and relinquish to the sexiness for which I can no longer bear. The endful, blissful beauty I then bask in overwhelms the man in me, begetting an artful terror. The night I pulled back my life stage curtain, revealing my centurion belt conquesting past. Patient ears did you have hearing all I said. So with your leading lawyer logistic head, ensure I tested perfectly clear before you let thy lovingly lie in your beautiful and bountiful bed. Woman of the world, only few places to travel yet and see. Though I try to show date you different and new, my Brooklynite old-fashionedly assures me there'd be no better in life to do than kissingly holding hands, 'cause sharing life's air with me be more than enough for you. A loving mother of two, even the brightest picture poetry you can never outshine nor outdo. That perfect portrait feeling one gets viewing your offspring gaze with stars in their eyes while looking at the motherly you. So I honor thee, Lori, with the smearing sample and hopefully tastefully scribbling example of a poem story. Freshly penly painted on paper, penning her life of giving in all its glory. Though while poeting, thou must be thanking the blessing by our Creator for bestowing upon the world a wonderful woman from Brooklyn, like the lovely Lori. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Chet. God bless you. Does anyone have questions?
Kleenex?
Yes. Yeah.
How much time did you have with your wife?
I had a total of 25 years. 15 years we were married. I had moved to Los Angeles right after I met my wife, and I had already set to move there, and I spent 2 weeks with her, but I kept going back and forth, and she came to Los Angeles. So we were married 15 years. Yes, Jen?
Joey, I can imagine in trying to write a poem where you try to rhyme things, there's a lot of editing and changing words. Do these get modified or do they just flow?
Most of it, I would say, is modified. When I write, I usually get the idea and then I write it out, but I have this OCD thing and I kind of go back and forth, and sometimes I'll scribble things 2 or 3 times and erase and go back to the original one. But it's modified. I think it's the work that you put into it. I really do. I think it's like the old writer's adage: 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. And I think that's true with all writing.
Can you tell us a little bit about your acting career? What did you?
Yes. So I started acting in Chicago. I was doing theater in Chicago. But of course, we all know New York is the place where the theater is. So I knew that was the place to move to. And I moved to New York, and I started studying at HB Studios, with Herbert Berghoff Studios, down in Village. And then I went to the Actor Studio, Lee Strasberg Institute. I studied there. And I started writing the plays. I did 2 plays in New York, off Broadway. They were on Theater Row on 42nd Street. I did theater there. Then I moved to Los Angeles after living in New York for 5 years. and I wanted to do film and television, and I moved to Los Angeles, and within 3 months I got my Screen Actors Guild card, and I was Taft-Hartley, did a film called Limited Engagement, and I stayed in Los Angeles for about 3 years. I had written a one-man show called Tony All the Way, my stage name, and I moved back to New York. Of course, my girlfriend and my wife, she was in New York, so I went back to New York to do the play. Of course, at that time I was pretty much flat broke, so it was hard to, it's hard to do both. And so I had to get a full-time job at the time, and I took some jobs, some side jobs that were very, very humbling to say the least. I was the front door elf at the Macy's Santaland. Step right in, folks, don't hesitate now. The big fellow with the red coat, the white-bearded wonder of the world. Don't hesitate. It goes on and on. I made up all this stuff, but it was a paying job, and for 3 weeks I needed it, and I took it. And I was a tour guide in New York City as well, along with doing waiter work in some of the investment firms down near Wall Street. And so yeah, I did that, and then my wife and I, after about 2 years in New York, I convinced her to move back to Los Angeles. Primarily, I said, it's the weather. It's beautiful weather. Every day, it's a beautiful day. So we went back to Los Angeles, and she, for the first time, she loved it. She worked for Disney. She worked on Wall Street for years, and I think she was tired of about 25, 30 years of that. So she came out and worked for Disney for about 15 years, and she loved it. And we stayed out there until her passing. So. Yeah, acting is, well, as they say, it's a tough piece of matzah, right? As my father-in-law used to say. So, yeah,
Yeah, hi. Your poems are obviously written from a very, very personal perspective. Were your plays written from a personal perspective, or were they written for commercial use?
My plays were, my first one, Dreamer Boy, was pretty much my story, coming from the Midwest and then moving to New York, and my dream of being a big New York theater actor. And then my second was a comedy called Big Shots, because my father, it was a racetrack comedy. My father took me to the racetrack a lot as a kid, and so that was my kind of personal experience with racehorses and the racetrack, and that went off very well. The third one I wrote that I did was, yes, very personal. Candle Burned Slowly. It was about my wife and I, our experience the last 3 or 4 years of her life. She passed from colon cancer, and she had 32 treatments of chemotherapy, but that was a personal experience, and my entire love of theater, I would read a play every day at the Samuel French bookshop in New York on Broadway, on 44th and Broadway, and I always wanted it to be real. And I said I wanted to stay as close to reality as I could, and everything I did with acting and writing. And when I wrote the play, A Candle Burned Slowly, I wanted it to reflect the actual experience of myself and what she was going through, and the reality of it. And it, of course, had a sad ending, but I stuck to my guns and wrote what I felt was real. So yes, it is personal experience. I think that's always the best.
Yo, Joey, over here in the middle. I know it's hard to see in the dark. We loved hearing your heart tonight. It was really wonderful, very touching, very moving for us. I kind of wondered, you've done a lot of writing. You said you wrote some pilots even, and you've done your plays. Do you consider yourself more of a writer or an actor? And what's your first love, writing or acting?
I would say that acting, to me, because you're giving out the emotion physically, is such it's a better way to give it. But I found the original creativity of it was the writing. After I read plays and I started loving what I was reading and the reflection of life, so I look at myself more as a writer now, and the acting thing is something I stopped paying my Screen Actors Guild card 20 years ago. I didn't see the sense of paying money for something I wasn't really using and benefiting for anymore. So the writing is what I kind of feel more attuned to.
Hey Joey,
Hi.
knowing as I do, and living on the Odyssey, I can't wait to see the play that you're going to be putting together for all the members of the Odyssey. I just hope that you're kind enough and to kind of figure me out as more like a Steve Reeves type of physique. So listening to your poems and listening to your stories, I think you're going to do a very good job at creating that play, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. There's a lot of characters on this ship. This stuff is falling right in my lap every day.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you again. Thank you, Kit.
Joey, thank you for sharing your heart with us. Thank you very much. You're wonderful.
She's the best.